Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Her Fertility Podcast. This episode is a super special episode. It's the first time I'm sharing a sneak peek from inside my fertility support membership. So this episode is a recording from a live Q&A session that I held inside the Fertility Support Membership, which is a beautiful community of women who are supporting each other on their fertility journey. And each week we have a live session with me inside the members only portal. I got a question about AMH, and it was such a powerful deep dive that I wanted to share it with you too. So listen all the way through this episode to get what AMH is, what to do if you do have a low AMH number, and if having a fertility support community sounds like something that could benefit you on your fertility journey. You can learn more on my website, fertilityjess.com/circle. Welcome to Her Fertility, the podcast revolutionizing the way women are supported on their fertility journey. I'm your host, Jess Tims. With years of supporting women as a fertility doula, I've seen the emotional pain caused by infertility, and I always knew there had to be a better way to support women with their fertility health and healing. This podcast goes so much deeper than anything you can search for online. If you're ready to find a new spiritual perspective for your fertility journey, then press play. We are here to reclaim control, find clarity, and transform the fertility conversation. Hello. Are we recording? Yes. Okay. So welcome to our live Q&A session for this month. Today's topic is one that I'm really excited that I got the question. It's all about AMH. So we're going to go deep into AMH. If you've never heard of AMH, you're going to have a really good understanding after this. But I'm really excited for this question, and I'm really grateful for this question because honestly, it's one that not a lot of people know about. And when you start to do your research on it, it can be really fear-inducing. And so we're going to dive in, and my goal is to give you a lot of information so that you don't feel afraid, especially if you do have a low AMH number. You don't need to be afraid of that, and I will walk you through exactly how not to be, right, and what to do with that. And if you're not watching this live and you need to watch this back, it will be in the replays portion over on the left-hand side. When you log into the Fertility Support Circle membership, on the left-hand side, we have all the replays from all these lives. We go live every week. So, or if you want to watch this one again, because it's going to be a big deep dive. Okay, so AMH stands for Anti-Mullerian Hormone. And AMH is at its core, it's a hormone that's produced by the ovaries. And it is what doctors use to estimate the number of eggs that the female has. So women are born with all of the eggs they will ever have. It's such a fascinating fact to me. I love that. You are born with all the eggs that you'll ever have in your ovaries. And as our bodies mature, we start to have a cycle and we have a period and we are ovulating, then we are releasing an egg in theory about every month until we reach menopause. And then we no longer have a cycle and our bodies are not doing that reproductive process any longer. Right? Now, there is no way currently with our medicine in 2025 to exactly know how many eggs a woman has in her body. And part of that reason is because the eggs in the ovaries are not like the eggs that we get at the grocery store, even though we like to think of them like that. They're not fully developed. The eggs in the ovaries are what can be referred to as a follicle, right? And so during ovulation, the beautiful female body produces other hormones. So we have our LH and our FSH happening after your period. You have an estrogen rise, and then right before ovulation, your body is triggered. It starts in your brain, and it's triggered to produce more LH and FSH, which are luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone. And those trigger the body to prepare an egg to be released during ovulation. And I really want you to get this part because it's really important. I know I'm going really detailed, but if you can get this and understand this, it's going to serve you, especially if you have low AMH numbers. So your body is preparing an egg for ovulation. What happens is the follicle starts to mature, and then during ovulation, it is then released from the ovary and it comes down into the fallopian tube to hopefully meet a sperm and be fertilized for conception, right? If we're trying to get pregnant. So what AMH is a hormone that's produced by the ovaries, and it is an indicator of the ovarian reserve. In theory, the higher level of AMH, of anti-Mullerian hormone, the higher number of eggs you have in reserve. Vice versa, the lower number of AMH that you have, the lower number of eggs, right? And to give you a range, if you were to have a blood test and have your AMH levels tested, a high level would be like above 4, above 4.0. Normal AMH levels are like 1.0 to 4.0. And then a low AMH level would be below 1.0. Now, it's also very dependent on your age. So you want to make sure your doctor should absolutely be telling you this, but it does correspond with your age. In general, a woman of reproductive age, we'll say, has a normal level falling between 1 and 4. But again, you want to talk to your doctor about like exactly how old you are and then what your AMH level is and whether that is a low, medium, or high number for you, right? If you are actively trying to get pregnant, if you've been diagnosed with infertility, if you're looking into assisted reproductive technologies, like all of those things, which would be IVF or IUI, you're going to likely have an AMH test at some point so that your doctor can estimate your ovarian reserve, which means the number of eggs you likely have in your ovaries. They may also couple that with an ultrasound to see the health, and they can't, again, count like the eggs during the ultrasound. Like there's no detail there yet in science, but they can do an ultrasound to say like, okay, these ovaries look healthy. We don't see any like blocks or scarring or things that we might see like with PCOS or something like that. So all good. We also have our AMH number, so we can estimate the number of eggs in your reserve. So why it's important is because you need to have 3 things in order to get pregnant. So you need to have an egg, a healthy, wonderful egg. You need to have sperm, and then you need to have a conduit for sperm to reach the egg. So when a couple is trying on their own, that conduit would be cervical fluid, a fertile quality cervical fluid that supports sperm. You can also use a sperm-friendly lube would be a conduit. Or in the case of using like an assistive reproductive technology, then that would be a procedure, right? Like IUI or IVF would be the way that the sperm is getting to the egg. When you should test AMH. So likely if you are seeing a reproductive specialist or a fertility clinic or a reproductive endocrinologist or something like that, they are going to test your AMH levels. Before that, your OB or your OBGYN might test your levels if they're trying to do like a thorough review of your fertility, if you've maybe been trying for 6 months to a year, depending on your age, and they just kind of want to get like more details, they might test your AMH. That's something you could ask for at that point. But it's not always expected. It's not always part of like your normal hormone panel. You know what I mean? So just going to take a sip of my tea. I love when tea bags have like a little saying. I actually don't use tea bags a lot because of, microplastics, which is a whole hot topic right now, thankfully. I usually do loose leaf tea, but I have a tea bag tonight, and this one is a safe one. And it says, "He who wants a rose must respect the thorn." Okay, great, thanks. Proverb. Okay. Okay, so we've talked about what it is, what it measures, age, how it's correlated, why it's important, when you should test it. Now let's talk about what a low number indicates. If you get your AMH results back and they are low, meaning 1.0 or below, okay, depending, like if you're inching towards 1, like if you're at 1.2, anywhere in the ones or below 1, you're going to want to red flag that, right? And that means that moment in time, your ovaries are not producing a high amount of anti-Mullerian hormone. Okay. AMH is the best we can do at estimating ovarian reserve right now in science. It is. It absolutely is. It is a great indicator. If you get a low number, if you're below 1 and you really want multiple children, right? It is a great piece of data to have that your ovarian reserve may be limited. I'm going to take a little bit of a rabbit hole tangent here for just a minute. A lot of women want to know why. Why do I have, I'm in my 20s. Why is my AMH so low? Well, just like all things with fertility, I will tell this to every client and everybody I work with until the end of time. The first system to shut down in the body is your reproductive system. So if we think back to when we were running from lions, and when you have to escape danger, right? Your body prioritizes blood and oxygen to the muscles to pump and run and breathe as fast and as hard as you can to get to safety. So what that means is your other systems are compromised in order for those systems to be optimized. And your reproductive system is the first system to shut down. Why? Because when you are running from a lion, your body cannot also reproduce and support another life. When your body is compromised, stressed, malnourished, sleep deprived, it cannot create and support another life. It is too intuitive. Your body's too smart. You can't trick your body into thinking it has enough to create and sustain life. Okay. I want you to have this lens, put these glasses on and think of your reproduction in this way. Reproduction is the first system to shut down. And this is the lens I use across all of the things with fertility. This is why when we are talking about nutrition for fertility, we do not want to think about calories. Okay. It's not about calories anymore. We want to look at nutrients and how to nurture your body. This is why sleep is so important. Your body needs enough rest to be able to function optimally and have all of its systems working, right? Which sleep gives us. So that's my rabbit hole tangent. And it is typically always the answer to why do I have a low AMH level? Okay, there's of course the outliers, the because you had cancer and radiation treatment, the because of whatever, external circumstance that created this for you. But most of the time, it is a lifestyle factor. It is a chronic stress factor. It is something that in the body has made the reproductive system shut down. And we can rabbit hole this a little bit more. Your body responds to actual stress and perceived stress. And stress can be not only in our mind, but it can be, again, actual body stress. So a hard workout or being malnourished or being sleep deprived or being in a loud environment all the time, noise stress. There's scent, smells, like heavy scents and smells stress on the body. You have all of these beautiful systems and all these beautiful ways to perceive the world. We have all these, we can see, we can touch, we can hear, we can, taste. And so your body's responding to everything around it, and it can get stressed, right? And so our reproduction is the first thing to shut down. We'll go into this a little bit more when we talk about what you can do to improve your AMH, but this is typically why, and in clients that I've worked with who've had low AMH, which I'm excited to share with you some stories of how they totally turned it around, but this is always the case. It is like, we get into their detail, we get into their history, we talk about their lifestyle, and I don't mean like lifestyle might not be the right word. Because I feel like when we talk about lifestyle, we talk about like choices, but like it's really just about like the life that you are living. And the life that they are living is typically one of like high performance, like business owner or high ticket sales or, something, right? Where it's like high demand of them. And there's other things that have impacted their body. And now they want to be a mom. And now their body is like, no, thank you. I've had enough. So your AMH is low, right? Okay. So the wonderful news is it can change. And I know there's an OBGYN out there somewhere hearing this being like, no, like cringing. And I want to walk this line with you. Okay. I will be honest. The first time I heard somebody say they could raise their AMH, I was like, that is not the truth. But then I started doing some research and I was like, okay, because you know me, I'm a research addict and I want to know the research. And so if somebody claims something, I want to know if it's true or not. I want to know why it's true, all the things. So I dug in deep, and it is. You can. I've seen it happen. I've worked with people. They've raised their AMH. But at the time, I saw it on Instagram, and this woman was like claiming that you can raise your AMH. And I was like, that is not true. So let's dive in. Let's look at this with the big research goggles that I put on when I first heard this. So your anti-Mullerian hormone is the hormone that your ovaries are producing from the follicles in reserve. Yes, they can correlate higher number of eggs, lower number of eggs. Directly, absolutely. That is the estimate that we use. However, those eggs in reserve and those follicles are not fully developed yet. So what we also know is you can improve your egg quality. While you have the number of eggs that you will ever have, because they are not fully matured yet until they're going through ovulation, you can absolutely improve the quality of the eggs that you have in your body. So this is all great news. It's great news no matter what your fertility journey looks like. If you are on a path to use IVF, that's okay. We want to make sure that if you are using your own eggs, you are using the highest quality of eggs possible, even if you don't have that many. You want them to be good quality, right? And we'll talk about what that looks like here in a minute. But what that also means, if you want to give yourself some time, AMH is measured at a moment in time. And if you have 3 months to dedicate, if you and I were working together and we realized, the root cause of your low AMH is like this high stress work environment, the malnutrition, you're not really focusing on nutrients, you're just eating what you can when you can, you're not getting that much sleep, right? Like all these things that we know to impact our fertility. And we were to like give you a whole protocol and you were willing to do 3 months of like, let's try this out and make some real changes and see, and then you could retest your AMH, then the suggestions I'm going to walk you through in a minute might be for you. Okay. If you're like, I have low AMH, I've worked with my doctor, I trust my doctor, we are totally doing the IVF route, that is absolutely your choice, and that's fine. This is not to shame anyone or say that one way is better than another. This is purely to give you all of the info so that you have it. and really ideal for somebody who's like just trying to understand AMH. A lot of times we really identify with the diagnosis. So we find our identity in having low AMH and we feel really guilty and we have a lot of shame. And that's perfectly normal for our wonderful human brain. But I really encourage you to step out of that and know that just because a low AMH diagnosis has been given, it doesn't mean that you are wrong or bad. And so again, as a fertility doula, when I work with people one-on-one, we work through a lot of that because it's really easy to say, but much harder to do, right, on your own. So let's walk through this a little bit more in detail. I had a wonderful client who she came to me and, we started working together. Her and her husband both had opportunities to improve their fertility. She had low AMH. She was a 1.2. So she's in her 30s. She had a 1.2. So again, not like below 1, but still pretty low. And we worked together for a period of about 6 months, just to give you a time frame. And they made a lot of awesome changes that were better all the way around. I think a lot of times we think about changes as like breaking away from like who you are and your lifestyle and your choices. But like these were all things that were beneficial for both of them and that they really embraced and wanted to do. And so they did that for a period of 6 months, and then she retested her AMH and it went all the way up to 8. 8. I was shocked. I mean, like over the moon, so excited. He also had a drastic change in his sperm results, which was so cool for this couple. So I share that with you because honestly, I am a skeptic when it comes to a lot of things. I need the research and I really like the proof, and I've seen it work. And this is totally, totally possible. So if you are on your fertility journey, if you have a low AMH number, or if you just want to improve your fertility in general, I'm going to share with you a couple research-backed, proven ways to do that. But I want to remind you that the mind, the body, and the soul are all connected. This is another lens that I take with all of my work is we cannot separate them. So while we're going to talk a lot about the body here, because this is a body part, you cannot forget the mind and the soul. So know that those pieces are really, really important too, which in this fertility support circle community and membership, you are getting lots of support, and we talk a lot about the mind. So I like to think of both eggs and sperm as being pretty sensitive. Sperm are definitely a little more sensitive than eggs, but the quality of both of them can improve. For AMH specifically, there's a couple supplements that support AMH. That would be vitamin D. Vitamin D is a big one. Now, don't just go supplementing with vitamin D. Vitamin D needs to be tested and measured. You can do that with a blood test and then supplemented based on what your need is. Yes, you can get vitamin D from the sun. However, most of us are vitamin D deficient. Vitamin D is a very easy thing to supplement with, but again, you want to make sure you're doing it at the appropriate levels. Also, CoQ10. CoQ10 is an antioxidant. CoQ10 across the board for both male and female fertility is a supplement that has been research backed to improve fertility. I would say the biggest thing with CoQ10 is just make sure that the source is a quality source of that vitamin or supplement. And then beyond that let's talk about nutrition. So in order to raise AMH levels, we want to step away from putting in our body things that can't draw nutrients from. And instead, we want to focus on nutrient-dense foods, things like your leafy greens, your wonderful proteins, your good fats. Basically, all of our packaged nonsense foods have a lot of crappy fat in them or oils, and our bodies don't know what to do with it. Like we're putting in these oils and our bodies are like, what? But if we can exchange that for things like salmon and avocado and olive oil, like these good healthy fats, our body can use that as building blocks for great eggs, right? Great egg quality and all of that. If you are new to your fertility journey and we have not talked a lot about nutrition yet, most women find that cooking their own food is easiest. It doesn't have to be complicated. And I love including really easy recipes in here in the community for you. But it just makes life easier, because when you're using packaged, when you're using frozen, when you're eating out, it's just really hard to control what's in those foods. And the only research-backed diet to support fertility is the Mediterranean diet. So if you're looking for inspiration, go ahead and research the Mediterranean diet. When it comes to food, I want to acknowledge that there is a deep connection, especially for women, with food in America. And again, there's no shame here and there's no guilt. The goal with your meals is to give your body nutrients, and you are going to now do the best you can with that with each meal. And the best you can changes every day, right? Focus on what's really bringing your body nutrients. That's where you want to be. And it can taste really yummy. So I'm excited to share more recipes with you. Okay, sleep. If you are not getting great sleep, if you're waking up tired, you got to focus on your sleep. You got to try getting in bed earlier, even if it's just 1 or 2 nights a week. See how that feels. The biggest tip that I've seen impact is lowering your exposure to blue light before bed. So not watching TV, not being on your phone, not being on your computer. Pull out a paperback book instead, or meditate, or do some stretching or something at least an hour before you sleep, because the blue light is stimulating your brain and it's keeping you up at night. Also, keeping your room just for sleep and sex is the best. If you can not study in your bed, not work in your bed, and just keep that kind of a sacred space that also triggers to your body that like this is where we sleep and we restore and we recover. And then the last point that impacts both male and female fertility is stress. And I don't necessarily love that word because it's associated in a way that I don't see it, but we're going to use it and understand it on like a broader lens. So stress meaning, of course, like the stress in your mind of your to-do list that's never ending and it never will be done because you're always going to add to it. It's also perceived stress. So things that we worry about in our mind, the what ifs, the I wish I could do things differently, right? The perceived stresses and then the actual stresses. So like the really hard workouts, if it's really hot outside and your body's like sweating a lot, or the actual stress of like a high stressful presentation you have to do at work, right? Like those are the things all impacting your body in a stressful way. This is where tuning in and really listening to your body is best, because you know what you like and you know what makes you feel calm, and you know what doesn't. And that's different for everybody. And so I really encourage you to kind of really like audit what's going on for you in your life and audit and edit. Okay. And then again, in here on the lives, I'm going to give you a bunch of tools, right, over and over, so that you have things to try that might help you with the stress. So I realize that that's a lot on AMH, but I hope that it gives you a more well-rounded view. I just want to emphasize again that everybody's journey looks different. I've worked with people who like who we talked about earlier, she wanted to try the natural route and give herself a lot of time, 6 months, to improve her AMH, and that was her path. I've also worked with clients who they have a low AMH number and they're using egg freezing and IVF right away, and that is a beautiful path for them. And there's not one that's better than the other. It's what's best for you. I hope that you get from this that AMH is a great piece of data, and now you can understand how to apply it for your body. But if you do still have questions, please ask me. Everybody's journey is different, and I am here to support you no matter what your journey looks like. So please include more questions in our Q&A, and I cannot wait until our next live session. If you are struggling with infertility, you've probably tried to find support from family and friends, but they just don't get the depth of your problems. That's why I created the Fertility Support Circle. The circle meets monthly for free, where you'll connect virtually with women who are also navigating their fertility journey. If the monthly call is not enough, I also created a Fertility Support Circle membership to give you professional support at a fraction of the cost of private fertility doula sessions. The Circle membership gives you weekly support, including live sessions with me each week inside the member-only portal and access to a community of women who understand. If you're ready for support, please send me a DM on Instagram at FertilityJess. That's FertilityJess, and I'll send you the information.